The conference room felt too small. Too quiet. Aisha stood at the front, hands steady on her laptop. The slide behind her showed clean numbers. Clear growth. No errors. I've double-checked the projections, she said. They hold even under stress scenarios. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Slow. Casual. Like none of this mattered. He said. You sound tense. Aisha blinked. I'm explaining the data. A small laugh from the corner. Daniel tilted his head. That's what I mean. You're getting emotional again. The word hung in the air. Emotional. Aisha felt it hit her chest. Hard. I'm not emotional, she said, voice controlled. I'm being precise. Daniel's smile thinned. See, he said, looking around the table. This is the problem. You don't hear yourself. No one spoke. Not Mark. Not Jenna. Not even Priya. Silence. Aisha's fingers tightened slightly around the clicker. I can walk through the numbers again, she said. Daniel leaned forward now. Closer. Voice lower. No, he said. What you need is to learn control. A pause. Then. Because right now you don't feel objective. The room went still. Aisha swallowed. Something wasn't right. It wasn't about the data. It never was. And as Daniel closed her presentation without asking, she realized this wasn't feedback. It was a setup. The room smelled like coffee and stress. Aisha stood still. Laptop open. Slide ready. Let's begin, she said. Her voice was calm. Measured. She clicked. Numbers filled the screen. Revenue increased by 12%, she said. Primary driver is. Daniel raised a hand. Not high. Just enough to stop her. Hold on. Aisha paused. Yes. He leaned back. Slow. Relaxed. You're going a bit fast. I can slow down. That's not it. A pause. His eyes narrowed slightly. It's your tone. Aisha felt it again. That word, almost. What about it? She asked. Daniel gave a small shrug. It feels intense. A faint shift in the room. Chairs moving. Eyes dropping. Aisha kept her posture straight. I'm presenting key findings, she said. Daniel smiled. Thin. Exactly. Silence. Aisha clicked to the next slide. Customer retention improved by. See. Daniel cut in. There it is again. Aisha stopped. Her grip tightened slightly on the clicker. I'm not sure what you mean. Daniel leaned forward now. Hands clasped. You come off defensive. I'm explaining the data. Yes, but, he paused, choosing his words. It doesn't feel collaborative. Aisha blinked. Collaborative? I'm answering the questions from last meeting. Daniel nodded slowly. And that's good. But delivery matters. A short pause. Then. You're getting emotional. The word landed. Heavy. Aisha felt heat rise in her chest. But her face didn't change. I'm not emotional, she said. Her voice stayed level. Daniel tilted his head. See? That right there. A quiet chuckle from Mark. Aisha didn't look at him. I'm being direct, she said. Daniel sighed. Soft. Controlled. That's one way to see it. Another pause. Then he turned to the room. Does anyone else feel this? No one answered. But no one defended her either. That silence. Said enough. Aisha swallowed. I can adjust my tone, she said. Daniel nodded. Good. He leaned back again. Let's move on. Her presentation was still open. Half finished. But he had already shifted the meeting. Mark started speaking. Different topic. Different energy. Aisha stood there for a second. Still. Then slowly sat down. Her screen dimmed. Her work. Cut short. The meeting ended quickly after that. Chairs scraped. People stood. Soft conversations started. Like nothing happened. Aisha packed her laptop. Carefully. Controlled. Priya walked beside her as they left. That was, Priya started. Then stopped. Aisha glanced at her. What? Priya lowered her voice. Strange. Aisha gave a small smile. Yeah. A pause. Then Priya added. He doesn't do that to Mark. Aisha looked at her. Really looked. You've noticed? Priya nodded. Yeah. A silence settled between them. Heavier this time. Not empty. Real. Back at her desk, Aisha opened her email. New message. Subject line. Performance feedback draft. Her chest tightened slightly. Too soon. She clicked. Scrolled. Read slowly. Strong analytical skills. Valuable contributions. Then, needs improvement in communication style. A pause. Her eyes moved lower. Can come across as overly emotional in high-pressure settings. There it was. Again. Aisha leaned back in her chair. Stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the trackpad. Not moving. Not typing. Just still. Across the office, Daniel laughed at something. Loud. Easy. Like none of this mattered. Aisha's jaw tightened slightly. Something clicked in her mind. Not loud. Not dramatic. But clear. This wasn't one moment. It wasn't one meeting. It was a pattern. Carefully worded. Soft enough to deny. Sharp enough to stick. Aisha closed the email slowly. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark screen. Calm. Controlled. But her eyes. Different now. Because one thought had finally settled in. This wasn't feedback. It was something else. And if she didn't name it, it would follow her everywhere. The next meeting felt louder. Not in sound. In energy. Aisha sat near the middle this time. Not at the front. Not leading. Just watching. Mark was speaking. Fast. Loose. Confident. No, that won't work, he said, cutting across Jenna mid-sentence. We tried that last quarter. It failed. Jenna blinked. I was just suggesting. I know, Mark said, already moving on. But it's not efficient. Daniel nodded. Good point, he said. That's the kind of assertiveness we need. Aisha's fingers stilled on her notebook. Assertiveness. Mark leaned back, satisfied. No tension. No correction. No word about tone. Aisha felt something tighten in her chest. Same behavior. Different label. Later in the meeting, Kevin spoke next. Louder than needed. I don't agree with any of this, he said, tapping the table. The projections are off. Aisha looked up. They're based on verified data, she said calmly. Kevin didn't look at her. They feel off. Feel. Daniel nodded again. Let's explore that, he said. Aisha leaned forward slightly. What part specifically? She asked. Kevin shrugged. Just the overall direction. A pause. Aisha waited. Nothing. No specifics. No data. Just a feeling. She opened her laptop. I can walk through the numbers. Daniel raised a hand. Not harsh. But final. Let's not get defensive, he said. The word hit again. Defensive. Aisha froze for half a second. I'm clarifying, she said. Daniel gave a tight smile. Tone, Aisha. Silence. Again. Mark glanced at his phone. Kevin leaned back. Jenna looked down at her notes. No one spoke. Aisha slowly closed her laptop. Understood, she said. Her voice was softer now. Careful. Measured. But inside, something was shifting. After the meeting, the hallway buzzed with quiet chatter. Aisha walked beside Priya again. Neither spoke at first. Then, that wasn't okay, Priya said. Aisha let out a slow breath. It's normal, she said. Priya stopped walking. No, she said. It's not. Aisha turned to her. You saw it too, right? Priya nodded. Mark interrupts people all the time, she said. Kevin barely explains anything. But you. She hesitated. They watch you differently. Aisha held her gaze. How? Priya chose her words carefully. Like they're waiting for you to slip. A pause. Then, like they've already decided something. Aisha felt that land. Deep. Because it matched something she hadn't fully said out loud yet. Back at her desk, Aisha opened a spreadsheet. Not for work. For herself. She started typing. Columns. Dates. Meetings. Comments. Exact phrases. Emotional. Defensive. Tone. Delivery. Her fingers moved faster now. Focused. Sharp. Across the room, laughter broke out again. Mark. Kevin. Daniel. Easy. Unbothered. Aisha didn't look up. She kept typing. An hour later, her inbox pinged. Another email. From Daniel. Subject. Quick note. Aisha clicked. Short message. Let's connect later. I'd like to discuss your growth areas. There are concerns about how you're being perceived by the team. Perceived. Not performance. Not results. Perception. Aisha stared at the screen. Then reread it. Slowly. Her jaw tightened. The meeting was set for 4 p.m. Small room. Glass walls. Nowhere to hide. Daniel sat across from her. Relaxed. Hands folded. Aisha, he began. I want to help you succeed here. She nodded. I appreciate that. He smiled slightly. But there are patterns we need to address. A pause. You're incredibly smart, he continued. No one is questioning that. Aisha waited. Then. But your communication style can be challenging. Challenging. Aisha kept her voice steady. In what way? Daniel leaned forward. You come across as intense. Sometimes emotional. There it was again. Clearer this time. Closer. I speak directly, she said. Yes, he replied. But it doesn't always land well. With who? She asked. A small pause. Daniel's eyes flickered. The team. Can you give examples? Another pause. Longer. Then. It's more of a general perception. Aisha felt something click again. No specifics. No names. Just a label. She leaned back slightly. Are my results meeting expectations? She asked. Daniel nodded quickly. Of course. Exceeding them? A pause. Yes. Aisha held his gaze. Then what exactly is the issue? Daniel's expression shifted. Slightly. Like he wasn't expecting that. It's about long-term growth, he said. Leadership presence. Leadership. Aisha's voice stayed calm. And that's defined by tone. Daniel exhaled. It's defined by how people experience you. A pause. Then he added. And right now, that experience is inconsistent. The room felt smaller again. Like the first meeting. Like the same script. Different day. Same words. Aisha nodded slowly. I understand, she said. But inside, she didn't. Not anymore. Because something was becoming clear. This wasn't about improving. It was about fitting into something. She was never meant to match. As she stood to leave, Daniel added one more line. Casual. Almost light. But if this doesn't improve, he said, it could affect your future here. Aisha stopped at the door. Hand on the handle. A pause. Then she turned slightly. Understood, she said. And walked out. Later that evening, she passed by the break room. Voices inside. Daniel's voice. Lower. Relaxed. Aisha slowed. Didn't mean to listen. But then. She's just hard to manage, Daniel said. Aisha froze. Another voice. Mark. Yeah, he replied. Always pushing back. Daniel chuckled softly. It's not just that, he said. There's an attitude there. You know. A pause. Then. I don't think she realizes how she comes across. Silence. Aisha stood still. Heart steady. But heavy. Because now. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't unclear. It was spoken. Out loud. Behind closed doors. And as Aisha walked away, one truth settled in deeper than before. This wasn't miscommunication. It was something deliberate. And it was getting worse. The next morning felt different. Quieter. Not outside. Inside her. Aisha sat at her desk, screen glowing softly in the early light. She didn't open her work files. Not yet. Instead, she opened a new document. Blank. White. Still. At the top she typed. Record. Her fingers paused. Then moved again. Fast. Precise. March 3rd team meeting. She typed what was said. Word for word. You're getting emotional. Tone. Defensive. She didn't summarize. She didn't soften it. She wrote it exactly. Her inbox sat open beside it. Emails stacked. Threads. Replies. Feedback notes. She clicked through each one. Copied lines. Pasted them into the document. Needs to work on delivery. Can be perceived as intense. May come across as overly emotional. Same words. Different days. Different formats. Same message. Aisha leaned back slightly. Her eyes scanned the page. It didn't look random. It looked repeated. Structured. Like a script. A soft knock on her desk. Priya. Hey, she said quietly. Aisha looked up. Hey. Priya glanced at the screen. What's that? Aisha hesitated. Then turned the laptop slightly. I'm writing everything down. Priya stepped closer. Read a few lines. Her expression changed. Wow, she said softly. A pause. Then. That's a lot. Aisha nodded. It's not just meetings, she said. It's emails too. Priya crossed her arms. Thinking. You think it's intentional? Aisha held her gaze. I don't know, she said. But her voice said something else. Priya leaned against the desk. I've noticed things, she said. Aisha waited. Like what? Priya looked around. Lowered her voice. He doesn't document Mark like this, she said. Or Kevin. Aisha's jaw tightened slightly. I checked, she said. Priya blinked. You checked? Aisha nodded. Performance summaries, she said. Shared metrics. Feedback language. And a pause. Then, no one else gets labeled like this. Silence. Heavy. Real. Priya exhaled slowly. That's not okay, she said. Aisha gave a small, tired smile. No, she said. It's not. Later that afternoon, Aisha opened another tab. Internal records. Company database. Search bar blinking. She typed. Daniel performance review history. A pause. Then results. Not many, but enough. She clicked. Scrolled. Read. At first. Normal. Standard language. Nothing unusual. But then. A note. Older. 2 years back. Short. Brief. Employee raised concerns about feedback consistency. Aisha leaned forward. Clicked deeper. Access restricted. Her screen stopped her. She frowned slightly. Tried again. Same result. Restricted. Her fingers hovered. Then, she copied the reference ID. Saved it. Added it to her document. Another piece. Incomplete. But there. A message popped up. From Daniel. Quick sync tomorrow morning. Aisha stared at it. Didn't reply right away. Instead, she added another line to her record. March 10th, meeting request after feedback pattern documented. Her typing felt different now. Less emotional. More controlled. Like building something. The next day came fast. Too fast. The meeting room was smaller this time. No windows. Just a table. 2 chairs. Daniel was already inside. Standing. Arms crossed. Aisha walked in. Sat down. Calm. Prepared. Daniel didn't smile. Not this time. I've been hearing some concerns, he said. Aisha looked at him. From who? A pause. The team. Same answer. Same pattern. Aisha nodded slowly. Can you be specific? Daniel's jaw tightened slightly. It's not about individuals, he said. It's about overall perception. Perception. Again. Aisha leaned forward slightly. I'd like examples, she said. Daniel sighed. This is what I mean, he said. You push back on everything. Aisha didn't react. I'm asking for clarity. And I'm giving you feedback, he replied. A pause. Then. You need to trust the process. The words felt rehearsed. Clean. Safe. But empty. Aisha sat back. Watched him. Really watched him. Because now, she wasn't just hearing him. She was studying him. Is this being documented? She asked. Daniel blinked. What? This feedback, she said. Is it being formally recorded? A pause. Short. But noticeable. Not yet, he said. Aisha nodded. Okay. She reached into her bag. Pulled out her notebook. Opened it. Started writing. In front of him. Daniel shifted slightly. What are you doing? He asked. Documenting, she said. Her voice calm. Steady. Daniel let out a small laugh. That's not necessary. Aisha didn't look up. I think it is. Silence. The room felt different now. The balance. Slightly shifted. Daniel leaned back. Eyes narrowing. This kind of behavior, he said slowly, can be seen as defensive. Aisha stopped writing. Looked up. Met his gaze. Then, calmly. I'm being precise. A pause. Longer this time. Daniel didn't respond immediately. Because for the first time, the words didn't land the same way. The meeting ended early. Short. Unresolved. Aisha walked out. Notebook in hand. Step steady. But her mind. Sharp. Focused. Back at her desk, she opened her document again. Added one more section. Bold. Clear. Pattern identified. Then underneath. She listed everything. Repeated phrases. Lack of examples. Shifting standards. Selective documentation. It didn't feel scattered anymore. It felt connected. But as she scrolled down, her eyes stopped on something. That restricted record. From 2 years ago. The one she couldn't access. Aisha leaned closer. Heart steady. But alert. Because one thought pushed forward now. Stronger than before. If someone else had noticed this before, what happened to them? The client call was important. Everyone knew it. Big account. High value. Long-term contract on the line. Aisha stood near the screen. Ready. Slides prepared. Data sharp. Daniel stood off to the side. Watching. Not speaking. Yet. All right, Aisha began, voice calm. Let's walk through the strategy update. The clients' faces appeared on screen. Serious. Focused. Listening. Aisha clicked to the first slide. Over the last quarter, we identified 3 key growth areas. Let's pause there. Daniel cut in. Too early. Too quick. Aisha turned slightly. Yes. Daniel smiled lightly. For context, he said, looking at the clients, Aisha tends to go deep into detail. A small chuckle. Which is great, he added. But we'll try to keep this high level. Aisha felt it. Subtle. But clear. She nodded once. Understood. She continued. Growth Area 1, customer retention. Clean. Direct. Focused. The client leaned in slightly. Can you explain how you measured that? One of them asked. Aisha nodded. Yes. We tracked. She's very thorough, Daniel interrupted again. Same tone. Same smile. Sometimes too thorough. Another light laugh. From him. Not from the clients. Aisha paused. Just for a second. Then kept going. We tracked retention through 3 key metrics. This time she didn't stop. Didn't look at him. Just spoke. Clear. Confident. Controlled. 10 minutes in. The room shifted. The clients were engaged now. Asking questions. Nodding. Taking notes. Aisha answered each one. Direct. Precise. No hesitation. Then. The moment. This is strong, one client said. Very structured. Very clear. Aisha gave a small nod. Thank you. A pause. Then. We'd like to move forward with this direction. Silence. For half a second. Then. Daniel stepped in. Smooth. Fast. Yes, absolutely, he said. We'll refine it internally. Aisha turned slightly. Refine? The client frowned just a little. Refine, they asked. Daniel nodded. Yes, he said. Aisha sometimes gets very invested in her approach. There it was. Again. Aisha felt her chest tighten. But we'll make sure it aligns with broader strategy. The client's expression shifted. Just slightly. Uncertain. Aisha stepped forward. Voice calm. This is the finalized version, she said. Daniel glanced at her. Quick. Sharp. We'll review it, he said, tone firmer now. A pause. The tension sat between them. Visible. Even through the screen. The client looked between them. Then back at Aisha. From what we see, they said slowly, this is exactly what we asked for. Aisha held their gaze. Yes, she said. Daniel smiled again. Tighter now. And we appreciate that, he said. We just want to ensure consistency across all teams. A pause. Then. We'll follow up. The call ended shortly after. No celebration. No debrief. Just silence. The moment the screen went dark, Daniel turned. Fast. What was that? He asked. Aisha blinked. What do you mean? You contradicted me, he said. Her voice stayed steady. I clarified the plan. Daniel shook his head. In front of the client. A pause. You made it look like we're not aligned. Aisha felt something rise, but held it down. We were aligned, she said. They approved the strategy. Daniel stepped closer. Lowered his voice. That's not the point. Aisha looked at him. Then. What is the point? She asked. A pause. Then. You need to trust leadership, Daniel said. Leadership. Again. Aisha's jaw tightened slightly. I presented approved data, she said. Daniel's expression hardened. It's not just about data, he replied. It's about how you come across. There it was. The shift. Always back to that. Aisha exhaled slowly. What exactly was the issue? She asked. Daniel didn't answer right away. Then. You were intense, he said. Aisha stared at him. I was clear. You were pushing, he replied. I was responding to questions. You were challenging me. The words landed. Different this time. Clearer. More direct. Aisha went still. I corrected a misunderstanding, she said. Daniel's eyes narrowed. That's not your role. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Aisha felt it settle deep. Because now, it wasn't hidden anymore. It wasn't about tone. Or delivery. Or perception. It was about control. I'm responsible for the strategy, she said. Daniel stepped even closer. And I'm responsible for the team. A pause. Then. And right now you're not acting like part of one. The words hit harder than before. Not louder. Just sharper. Aisha didn't respond. Didn't argue. Because something inside her had shifted again. From confusion. To clarity. I understand, she said finally. Her voice quiet. Controlled. Daniel watched her for a second. Then nodded. Good, he said. And walked away. The office felt different after that. Quieter. But heavier. People avoided eye contact. No one mentioned the call. No one said good job. Even though the client had approved it. Aisha sat at her desk. Opened her document. Typed everything. Every word. Every pause. Every shift. Then. Her email pinged. New message. Unknown sender. Subject. Follow-up. Aisha frowned slightly. Clicked. Hi Aisha. I wanted to reach out directly. Your presentation was strong. Very clear. Very effective. But I noticed some tension during the call. I just wanted to confirm. Is everything aligned internally? Because from our perspective, your approach is exactly what we need. Aisha read it twice. Slowly. Carefully. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Not typing yet. Because that message changed something. It wasn't just her perspective anymore. It wasn't just internal. Someone outside had seen it. Noticed it. Questioned it. Aisha leaned back. Eyes focused. Mind sharp. Because now, there was proof. Not just of her work, but of the gap between truth and how it was being twisted. And one thought settled in. Clearer than ever. If the client could see it, how much longer could the company ignore it? The email stayed open. Aisha didn't reply right away. She just looked at it. Read it again. Your presentation was strong. I noticed some tension. Is everything aligned internally? The words felt calm. But underneath, they carried weight. Because someone outside the company had seen it. Not imagined. Not assumed. Seen it. Priya walked over slowly. You okay? She asked. Aisha turned her screen slightly. Read this. Priya leaned in. Her eyes moved quickly. Then stopped. Oh, a pause. Then, that's big. Aisha nodded once. They saw it, she said quietly. Priya looked at her. Yeah, she said. They did. Silence sat between them. But it wasn't empty. It was building. What are you going to do? Priya asked. Aisha didn't answer right away. Her fingers rested on the desk. Still. Then. I don't think I can ignore this anymore, she said. Priya nodded slowly. I don't think you should. That afternoon, Aisha scheduled a meeting. Not with Daniel. With HR. The room felt different. Soft lighting. Neutral walls. No pressure on the surface. But underneath, something else. The HR representative, Karen, smiled politely. Hi, Aisha. What can I help you with? Aisha sat down. Back straight. Voice steady. I'd like to report a concern, she said. Karen nodded. Of course. A pause. Then. Take your time. Aisha didn't rush. She opened her laptop. Turned it slightly. And began. There's a pattern in the way I've been evaluated, she said. Karen listened. Nodding occasionally. Neutral. Careful. Aisha clicked through her document. Emails. Feedback. Meeting notes. Each one clear. Each one specific. I've been consistently described as emotional, Aisha said. Karen tilted her head slightly. Can you give examples? Aisha clicked. Pulled up one email. Then another. Then another. Same word. Different dates. Karen's expression didn't change much. But her pen slowed. Just a little. Has this impacted your work? Karen asked. Aisha paused. Chose her words carefully. My performance has been strong, she said. I have the metrics to support that. Karen nodded. And how has this made you feel? Aisha held her gaze. It's not just about how it feels, she said. A pause. Then. It's about how it's used. Karen leaned forward slightly. What do you mean? Aisha clicked again. Pulled up comparison data. Same team. Same roles. Different feedback. Others behave more aggressively, she said. They interrupt. They dismiss ideas. Karen watched the screen. And how are they described? She asked. Aisha didn't look away. Assertive, she said. A pause. Then. Confident. Silence. Karen sat back slowly. Her pen stopped. Aisha continued. There's no documentation of them being emotional, she said. But there is for me. Repeatedly. The room felt quieter now. Heavier. Karen folded her hands. Have you discussed this with your manager? She asked. Aisha nodded. Yes. And? A pause. He said it's about perception, Aisha replied. Karen nodded slowly. That can be important in team dynamics. There it was. Soft. Neutral. But familiar. Aisha didn't react. Not outwardly. I understand that, she said. Then. But perception shouldn't override measurable performance. Karen gave a small, careful smile. That's a fair point. A pause stretched. Longer now. Aisha leaned forward slightly. There's something else, she said. Karen looked up. What is it? Aisha opened the client email. Turned the screen. An external partner noticed the same behavior, she said. Karen read it. Slowly. Carefully. Her expression shifted. Just a little. They questioned internal alignment, Aisha continued, because of how my work was presented versus how it was described. Karen placed the pen down, now fully focused. That does add context, she said. Aisha nodded. It does. Silence again. But different now. Less dismissive. More aware. Karen took a breath. Okay, she said. We can open a formal review. Aisha didn't move. Didn't react. Just listened. This process will take time, Karen continued. And we'll need to gather input from multiple parties. A pause. Then. Are you comfortable moving forward? Aisha held her gaze. This was it. The line. The shift. The risk. Because once this started, there was no going back. Yes, she said. Her voice steady. Clear. I am. Karen nodded. All right, she said. We'll begin immediately. The meeting ended shortly after. Professional. Contained. Controlled. But as Aisha stepped out into the hallway, her phone buzzed. New email. From Daniel. Subject. Follow-up. Aisha stopped walking. Opened it. Aisha. I've been hearing concerns about your conduct in recent meetings. Your approach with leadership has been noted as increasingly difficult. We need to address this urgently. Let's meet tomorrow. Daniel. Aisha stared at the screen. Her expression didn't change. But inside, everything sharpened. Because the timing wasn't a coincidence. She hadn't told him. Not yet. Not about HR. And still, he knew something had shifted. Aisha slowly locked her phone, slipped it back into her bag, and kept walking. One thought echoing now, clearer than ever. This wasn't just bias anymore. It was escalation. The next morning felt colder. Not the air. The space. Aisha walked into the office and knew something had changed. No one said anything. But they didn't need to. Her calendar was different. She sat down. Opened it. Scrolled. Paused. 3 meetings gone. Strategy sync. Client prep. Team review. All removed. Aisha frowned slightly. Refreshed the page. Same result. Gone. She looked up. Mark was across the room. Talking. Laughing. Kevin beside him. Daniel at the center. Leading. Aisha stood. Walked over. Hey, she said calm. I noticed I was removed from a few meetings. Daniel glanced at her. Quick. Then back to his screen. Yeah, he said. We're streamlining things. A pause. Streamlining. Fewer voices, he replied. More efficiency. Aisha held his gaze. I lead those projects. Daniel shrugged slightly. We're adjusting roles. Silence. Aisha didn't react. Not outwardly. Without discussion, she asked. Daniel leaned back. You've had a lot on your plate, he said. This gives you space to recalibrate. Recalibrate. Aisha felt the word settle. Carefully chosen. Soft. But sharp underneath. I'm meeting all deliverables, she said. Daniel nodded. That's not the issue. A pause. Then. It's about how you're showing up. There it was. Again. Aisha looked at him. Longer this time. Then. Understood, she said. And walked back to her desk. Her inbox pinged again. Another email. Subject. Meeting summary. She opened it. Team alignment requires consistent communication tone. Recent interactions have created friction. We are making temporary adjustments to ensure smooth collaboration. No names. But clear. Aisha exhaled slowly. Then opened her document. Added a new section. Retaliation indicators. She typed. Removed from key meetings without cause. Language framing performance as behavioral issue. Shift from feedback to restriction. Her fingers moved faster now. More certain. More focused. A message popped up. Priya, can we talk? They met in the stairwell. Quiet. Private. What's going on? Priya asked. Aisha showed her the calendar. The email. Everything. Priya's eyes widened. They took you off the project? Aisha nodded. Without explanation. That's not normal, Priya said. No, Aisha replied. It's not. A pause. Then. You filed with HR, right? Priya asked. Aisha hesitated. Then nodded. Yes. Priya exhaled. Okay, she said. That makes sense. Aisha looked at her. What do you mean? Priya lowered her voice. This is what happens, she said. When people push back. The words landed. Heavy. Real. They isolate you first, Priya continued. Then they question your behavior. A pause. Then. They make it look like you're the problem. Aisha didn't speak. Because everything Priya said matched what she was living. I'm not imagining this, Aisha said quietly. Priya shook her head. No, she said. You're not. Silence filled the stairwell. But it wasn't empty. It was confirmation. Later that day, Aisha received another message. From HR. Hi Aisha. We've begun reviewing your concerns. We'll be conducting interviews and gathering documentation. Please let us know if you experience any changes in your work environment. Best, Karen. Aisha read it once. Then again. Slowly. Any changes in your work environment. She let out a quiet breath. Because changes were already happening. Fast. Subtle. But clear. That evening, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated. Then answered. Hello. Hi, is this Aisha? Yes. This is Rachel. I'm an employment attorney. A pause. Aisha straightened slightly. I reached out through your inquiry form, Rachel continued. I've reviewed the details you submitted. Aisha's grip tightened slightly on the phone. Okay, she said. Rachel's voice was calm. Measured. But I need to ask you something directly, she said. A pause. Are you currently experiencing retaliation? Aisha didn't answer right away. Her eyes moved across the room. Empty desks. Quiet lights. Her removed meetings. The email. Daniel's tone. Yes, she said finally. Her voice steady. Rachel didn't hesitate. Then this is no longer just an internal matter, she said. The words settled. Clear. Final. We need to move carefully, Rachel continued. But you have a strong case forming. Aisha's chest tightened slightly. Because of the documentation? She asked. Yes, Rachel said. And because of the pattern. A pause. Then. And now the escalation. Aisha leaned back in her chair. Eyes focused. Mind sharp. What happens next? She asked. Rachel's answer came without pause. We prepare. Silence. But not empty. Not uncertain. Focused. Because now, this wasn't just about surviving the workplace. It was about proving something. And as Aisha ended the call, one truth stood clear in her mind. They weren't just watching her anymore. Now, she was building a case against them. The word case changed everything. It made things sharper, clearer, more dangerous. Aisha sat at her desk, phone still in her hand. Rachel's words echoed. We prepare. Her inbox filled slowly. Normal emails. Updates. Team notes. But now, they looked different. Every line felt like evidence. Every word. Intentional. A new message popped up. From Daniel. Subject. Mandatory check-in. Aisha stared at it. Didn't open it right away. Instead, she opened her document. Added a new line. Escalation continues post-HR contact. Then she clicked the email. Aisha, your recent disengagement has been noted. This level of inconsistency is concerning. We need immediate alignment. Daniel. Aisha's jaw tightened slightly. Disengagement. She had been removed from meetings. Cut out. And now, she was being blamed for it. Her phone buzzed again. Rachel. Did anything else happen? Rachel asked. Aisha exhaled slowly. Yes, she said. And read the email out loud. A pause. Then. Good, Rachel said. Aisha blinked. Good. Yes, Rachel replied calmly. It shows a pattern of shifting blame. Aisha leaned back. Processing. They remove you, Rachel continued. Then document you as disengaged. A pause. That's not random. Aisha's eyes narrowed slightly. No, she said. It's not. Save everything, Rachel added. Do not respond emotionally. Keep it factual. Aisha nodded, even though Rachel couldn't see her. I will. The next day, HR interviews began. Aisha sat in the same neutral room. But this time, it felt different. Less uncertain. More structured. Karen sat across from her. Laptop open. Recording notes. We've started speaking with the team, Karen said. Aisha nodded. Okay. Karen hesitated slightly. Then, some feedback suggests there have been tensions in communication. Aisha held her gaze. What kind of tensions? Karen glanced at her screen. Concerns about tone, she said. There it was. Again. Still. Aisha didn't react. I'd like specifics, she said. Karen paused. Then, some team members feel you challenge leadership in a way that creates friction. Aisha leaned forward slightly. Is that documented? She asked. Karen blinked. Not formally. Aisha nodded. Then it's subjective. Silence. Short, but heavy. Karen shifted slightly. We're gathering perspectives. Aisha held her gaze. And I'm providing evidence, she said. A pause. Karen didn't respond immediately. Because the difference was clear. Later that afternoon, Priya was called in. Aisha waited. Not in the room, but nearby. At her desk. Watching the clock. 30 minutes. 40. 50. Then, Priya returned. Her expression serious. Well, Aisha asked quietly. Priya sat down. Lowered her voice. I told them everything. Aisha's chest tightened slightly. What did they say? Priya hesitated. Then, they listened. A pause. But, Aisha leaned in. But what? They asked if maybe you were being misinterpreted. Aisha closed her eyes briefly. Then opened them. Of course they did, she said. Priya shook her head. I pushed back, she said. I told them it's not just perception. Aisha looked at her. Really looked. Thank you, she said. Priya nodded. I'm not the only one, she added. Aisha frowned slightly. What do you mean? Priya leaned closer. There was someone before you, she said. A pause. Another analyst. Aisha's heart slowed. Focused. What happened to them? She asked. Priya hesitated. Then, they left. Silence. Same manager? Aisha asked. Priya nodded. Yes. Aisha leaned back. Mind racing. Do you know their name? She asked. Priya glanced around. Lowered her voice further. Jordan. The name settled. Heavy. Aisha opened her document again. Added it. Jordan, previous employee. Similar concerns. Her fingers paused. Then continued. Outcome departure. The pattern was growing. Not just repetition. History. That evening, Rachel called again. Any updates? She asked. Aisha told her everything. HR interviews. Priya's statement. Jordan. Rachel went quiet for a moment. Then, that's important, she said. The previous case? Aisha asked. Yes, Rachel replied. A pattern over time strengthens your position. A pause. Then, we need to see if there's documentation. Aisha thought of the restricted file. The one she couldn't access. There is something, she said slowly. But I can't open it. Rachel's tone sharpened slightly. Good, she said. Aisha blinked again. Good. Yes, Rachel replied. If it's restricted, it means it exists. Silence. And if it exists, Rachel continued, we can request it legally. Aisha sat still. Because now, this wasn't just her story. It was bigger. A system. A pattern. A history that had been hidden. What happens if we get it? Aisha asked. Rachel didn't hesitate. Then they can't deny it anymore. The words settled deep. Because denial was the only thing protecting them now. And as Aisha closed her laptop, one thought stayed with her. This wasn't just about proving what happened to her. It was about exposing what had been happening all along. The courtroom felt colder than expected. Not in temperature. In tone. Everything was sharp. Measured. Quiet in a way that carried weight. Aisha sat at the table. Hands folded. Back straight. Rachel beside her. Focused. Prepared. Across the room. Daniel. In a suit now. Not relaxed. Not smiling. Still. The judge entered. Everyone stood, then sat. Rachel leaned slightly toward Aisha. "Stay calm," she said softly. "Let the evidence speak." Aisha nodded. She didn't need to say anything. Not yet. The case began. Rachel stood, walked forward, her voice steady, clear. "This case is not about performance," she said. "It is about pattern." A pause. Then, a pattern of language used to undermine one employee, while others were treated differently. She turned, looked directly at Daniel. "We will show that identical behaviors were labeled differently, based not on action, but on bias." Silence filled the room. Rachel stepped back. "Let's begin. First, the emails. Projected on screen. Clear. Simple." Rachel read them out loud. "Overly emotional. Click. Needs to manage tone. Click. Comes across as defensive." Then, another slide. "Now," Rachel said, "let's compare. New names. Mark. Kevin." Their feedback appeared. Strong leadership presence. Confident communicator. Assertive in meetings. A pause. Rachel turned to the judge. "These descriptions refer to similar behaviors." Silence. The judge leaned forward slightly. Watching. Rachel continued. "We will now examine performance data." Aisha's work appeared. Charts. Numbers. Clear. "Top performer," Rachel said. "Consistent results. High client satisfaction." Another pause. "Now we ask." Rachel turned slightly. Looked at Daniel. "If performance was strong, why was the language consistently negative?" Silence. Daniel shifted in his seat. His lawyer stood. "Objection, speculation." The judge raised a hand. "Overruled," they said. "Answer the question." All eyes turned. Daniel stood slowly. Adjusted his jacket. "It's about perception," he said. The same word. Rachel didn't react. "Perception," she repeated. A pause. "Can you define how that perception is formed?" Daniel hesitated. Just slightly. "It's based on team interaction," he said. Rachel nodded. "Let's explore that." She clicked again. A new document appeared. "Internal complaint," she said. Aisha's breath slowed. Focused. This report was filed 2 years prior. Daniel's expression changed. Slightly. "Regarding similar concerns," Rachel continued. Aisha's chest tightened. "Jordan." The name appeared on screen. A soft murmur moved through the room. Rachel's voice stayed steady. "This employee reported inconsistent feedback and bias in evaluation." A pause. The same manager was named. Silence. Heavy. Rachel stepped closer. "Was this complaint investigated?" Daniel's lawyer stood again. "Objection." The judge looked directly at Daniel. "You may answer." Daniel's jaw tightened. "It was reviewed," he said. Rachel nodded. "And what was the outcome?" A longer pause. "No formal action was taken," Daniel said. Rachel let the silence sit. Then, "Why not?" Daniel hesitated. "It lacked sufficient evidence," he said. Rachel didn't move. Didn't blink. "Or," she said slowly, "was the evidence not properly considered?" Silence. Daniel didn't answer. The courtroom felt smaller now. Tighter. Rachel turned back to the judge. "This is not an isolated case," she said. A pause. "It is a pattern." She gestured toward the screen. Repeated language. Repeated outcomes. Repeated dismissal. Then, she stepped back. "Now we ask one final question." A pause. Rachel turned again. Looked directly at Daniel. Her voice calm. Sharp. "If the behavior was the same and the performance was stronger, why was only one employee labeled as emotional?" The room went still. No movement. No sound. Daniel opened his mouth. Then, stopped. Because there was no clean answer. No safe answer. And for the first time, the silence wasn't protecting him. It was exposing him. Aisha sat still. Hands steady. Eyes forward. Because everything she had felt, everything she had documented, everything she had endured, was now visible. Not just to her. Not just to the company. But to everyone. And as the courtroom held its breath, one truth became undeniable. This was no longer about perception. It was about proof. The day the verdict was announced felt heavier than expected. Not tense. Not anxious. Deliberate. Measured. Full of eyes watching every move. Aisha sat in the front row, Rachel beside her, hands clasped tightly. The judge cleared their throat. After reviewing the evidence, the judge began. It is clear that repeated bias affected the evaluation and treatment of the plaintiff. Aisha felt her chest loosen slightly, every word landing like a small, steady hammer. Daniel shifted in his seat across the room. No words. No excuses. Just the weight of exposure. The court finds that the company failed to provide consistent standards, the judge continued, and that the plaintiff was unfairly labeled and marginalized due to subjective perceptions influenced by bias. Aisha blinked once. Then again. Rachel leaned forward slightly. Everything you documented, she whispered. Your emails. Your meeting notes. Every step you recorded, they made the difference. Aisha's lips pressed together. A small, controlled smile formed. Because it wasn't just her fight anymore. The judge's gavel hit the bench. Final. Clear. Relief measures will be enforced, including reinstatement of roles, formal acknowledgement of misconduct, and mandatory training for management. A murmur ran through the room. Mark and Kevin avoided her eyes. Daniel sat frozen, unable to respond. Aisha rose slowly. Hands steady. Steps deliberate. Outside the courtroom, cameras flashed. Reporters asked questions. Voices overlapping. One journalist approached. Ms. Carter, how do you feel? Aisha paused. Took a breath. Vindicated, she said softly. But it shouldn't have taken this much to be treated fairly. Priya was waiting nearby. She ran forward and hugged Aisha quickly. I knew you could do it, she whispered. Aisha felt the weight of months, years, slide slightly off her shoulders. The record, the emails, the pattern, all finally acknowledged. Later that evening, back at home, Aisha opened her laptop. She began typing again. But this time, it wasn't just for evidence. It was for clarity, for reflection, for anyone who might face the same path she did. Entry 1. Today proves that silence is costly. Documentation is power. Evidence is truth. Bias thrives in private. Justice demands visibility. She leaned back, taking in the quiet room. Her phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. You did it. Truly. Aisha smiled. Not just for herself, but for everyone silenced before her. A week later, the company issued a formal statement. Acknowledging the findings. Committing to change. Mandatory management training. Audits. Review protocols. Aisha read it carefully. Every word a small victory. Not complete. Not perfect. But public. Concrete. In her team, reactions were mixed. Some avoided her. Some whispered apologies. Others looked at her with a newfound respect. Aisha didn't need to respond. Her work had spoken. Her record had spoken. And the court had spoken. Rachel called again. This isn't just about winning, she said. It's about sending a message. Aisha nodded. I know, she replied. And now people will pay attention. That night, Aisha looked at her notes one final time. Emails. Meetings. HR reports. Patterns. Names. Dates. All laid out. She exhaled. The emotional toll had been high. Isolation, manipulation, subtle and overt bias. All of it had left marks. But the victory was clearer than ever. Justice, resilience, and proof could coexist. And in the quiet, she allowed herself one thought. No longer too emotional. Just strong. And unignorable. The office felt different the next morning. Not silent. Not tense. Different. Charged. Expectant. Aisha walked in. Back straight. Eyes forward. Confidence tempered by months of struggle. Daniel avoided her gaze. He didn't speak. Didn't smile. His authority diminished, unspoken but palpable. Her team shifted in subtle ways. Some lingered, hesitant. Some offered quiet nods. Some just observed, processing the change. Aisha sat at her desk. Opened her laptop. Breathed in slowly. She glanced at her document one last time. Pattern identified. Pattern exposed. Justice served. The words felt final. Solid. Her phone buzzed. A message from Priya. Coffee? You've earned it. A small smile. A simple connection. A reminder that life continued beyond the courtroom. Later, in the break room, Aisha poured coffee. She saw Kevin and Mark nearby. Their conversation stopped. They glanced at her. She offered a calm nod. No need for confrontation. The acknowledgement alone spoke volumes. Rachel called again. Congrats, she said. Your documentation, your perseverance, It set a precedent. Aisha held the phone tightly. Yes, she said quietly. It does. And it matters. HR scheduled a team meeting. Mandatory training. Formal acknowledgement of prior bias. A new reporting system. All clear signs of change. Aisha observed quietly. Not triumphantly. Not vindicatively. Just watchful. She had seen the cost of silence. She had felt the weight of dismissal. Now she witnessed accountability. Her office was finally hers again. The meetings reinstated. Her voice listened to, respected. Not questioned. Not undermined. That evening she walked home. City lights glimmering softly on wet pavement. The world outside moved fast. Yet she felt a calm inside. She stopped. Looked up at the building she had walked into months ago. Memories of whispered doubts. Silenced contributions. Hidden emails. A sigh escaped her. This wasn't only personal victory. It was exposure of an old pattern. It was hope for anyone next in line. Her phone buzzed again. This time a news alert. Company implements new anti-bias measures after court verdict. Aisha read carefully. Every line a small validation. Public recognition of what she had endured. What she had proven. She typed one last entry in her journal. Justice doesn't erase trauma, but it affirms truth. Persistence matters. Documentation matters. Courage matters. I am not too emotional. I am strong. I am seen. I am heard. Later that night, she allowed herself a rare smile. No longer guarded. No longer defensive. Her reflection in the window showed someone transformed. Not just in career, but in spirit. Her phone pinged with another message. From Priya. Celebratory dinner? Aisha chuckled softly. Yes, she typed. Yes, we celebrate tonight. She set the phone down. Closed her laptop. The documents remained neatly filed. Evidence of struggle. Evidence of resilience. Evidence of change. As she sat back, Aisha's mind wandered briefly. To Jordan, the analyst who had left. To others who might face the same challenges. To the future. And in that moment she understood. Victory was not just about the courtroom. Not just about the emails, the meetings, the bias exposed. It was about dignity restored. Truth amplified. Justice realized. Aisha exhaled. The fight was over. The lesson clear. The path forward illuminated. She stood, looked around the office, smiled faintly, and whispered to herself, I am enough. I was always enough. The city lights outside reflected in her eyes. Bright, clear, hopeful. The story wasn't just hers. It was bigger. A warning. A beacon. A precedent. And with that Aisha walked out. Confident. Seen. Ready for whatever came next.